Very warm welcome, participants, to the Senator Bureau of Standards consultation for pneumatic tires. I am Zamala Haynes Joseph, head of the Department of Standards Development. In today's session, we will cover two standards, one for pneumatic tires for passenger vehicles, the other pneumatic tires for non-passenger vehicles. These are both revised standards and they've been updated based on updates in technology, updates in use, and other issues which would have arisen since the publication of these standards. Today, we will also do a presentation on how to access our online voting form and submit your comments via the online platform. We are joined by members of the technical committee, the chairman, Mr. Anderson Ogis, and the vice chairman, Mr. Christopher De Freitas. Members of the Senator Bureau of Standards team for standards development will also provide support for this session. With that, I invite Ms. Saskia Augustine to give the background and update.
Sure. Thank you, Zamala. Morning, everybody. My name is Saskia Augustine, and I'm a standards officer here at the Senator Bureau of Standards. So like Zamala mentioned, I will just be taking you through a brief background and importance of these two standards. So these standards are revisions of SLNS 41, that is the pneumatic tires for passenger vehicles, as well as 42, 2005, that's a specification for pneumatic tires for non-passenger vehicles. So SLNS 41 was declared mandatory in 2003 by a statutory instrument 2003 number 28, while SLNS 42 was declared mandatory in 2005 by statutory 21. So under the Standards Act number 14 of 1990, the Bureau was authorized to examine goods imported and manufactured locally to determine compliance with these mandatory standards. So these standards have been updated to ensure that they conform with current technical requirements within the industry. They are intended to provide adequate information to tire dealers and consumers for the safe operational performance of tires used on vehicles. The information provided to purchasers and consumers will permit proper selection and the use of these tires in an effort to protect the consumer or user against dangers to safety. Okay, so the updates made to DNS 41, that's the tires for passenger vehicles. We've updated the normative references, some of the terms and definitions, as well as the selection criteria used for tires. We've also added clauses on storage and fumigation. And the updates to DNS 42, that's non-passenger vehicles. We've also updated the normative references, the terms and definitions, some of the requirements, the test procedures. And we've also added clauses on non-conforming tires, disposal of tires, and reporting on disposal of non-conforming tires. Okay, so that is it for me and the background.
Thank you very much, Saskia. So we're now going to get into the real details of the standard, having heard Saskia's intervention on the background of the standard and what really the standard, how the standard has been updated. And it's important to note that these are mandatory standards. So it means when it is revised, another statutory instrument will be declared to keep it as a mandatory standard for the purposes of inspections and testing. So I would like to invite Mr. Anderson Ogis, who is the chair of the subcommittee on tires that has been working on the requirements, the specific details of the standard. Mr. Ogis.
Hi, good morning to all folks out there. Anderson Ogis here, chairperson of the subcommittee for tires. We'll start with the DNS 41 specifications for pneumatic tires for passenger vehicles. The elements of the DNS 41, the scope, normative references, terms and definitions, tire designation, labeling, requirements, storage, fumigation, inspection, and selection of used tires, sampling and testing to determine compliance, and non-conforming tires. Annex A, informative information to be supplied by the purchaser. Annex B, normative test procedures. Annex C, informative storage positions. Annex D, informative procedure for fumigation and containerized used tires. The scope. This standard specifies tire designation, labeling, and laboratory tests and performance requirements for physical dimensions, strength, endurance, bead and seating resistance, and high-speed performance for new and used pneumatic tires intended for passenger vehicles. Terms and definitions. We'll just go through a few of those, such as bead separation, blemish tire, breaker in diagonal, load rating, ply, pneumatic, and rim. For tire designation, dimensional and constructional characteristics, nominal section width, nominal aspect ratio, tire construction code, nominal rim diameter code, service description, other service characteristics. Brings us to number 5, labeling. The manufacturer name and brand name and number, the size, the DOT, and the maximum permissible inflation pressure. Those are a few of the labeling requirements that we'll go through today. Some of the examples of labeling. The P is standing for passenger car. The 185 is the width and it's done in millimeters. The 60 is the aspect ratio, which is the height over the width. And it's also always given in a percentile. The R is the radial construction. D is 14, meaning the size of the rim that tire is suitable for. The 82 is the load rating. And the H at the end is the speed rating. Now, with that example, we're giving it to you in the SI system, but you also have the imperial system where you'll have examples like 4110, 50, 15, and it basically follows the same principle. But it's now going to be done in inches instead of millimeters. Requirements. Import requirements, sorry. Physical dimensions, test sample, test equipment, strength tests, bead on seating resistance for tubeless tires, endurance tests, and high-speed test. Storage, humidity, light, temperature, ozone, chemicals and lubricants, stock rotation, and storage position. Inspection and testing for used tires. Inspection, selection criteria for used tires, and some of the reasons for rejection of used tires, exposed cords due to tread wear or sidewall scuffing, radial or groove cracks extending to the cords, tread separation, weather cracking extended to cords, broken and damaged and exposed bead wires, and any visual evidence of belt damage. Those are some of the pictures as to what was mentioned. As you can see, example of a broken bead. There's also an example of a damaged bead and an example of a bent bead. We could show you the ply damage, where we normally see the bulge at the sidewall. It could also be on the inside part of the tire sometimes, because the tire is constructed with two walls. And also blemish tires. This is an example of what a blemish tire is supposed to be. Cracking in tread. Sampling and testing to determine compliance. Test certificate, sample size, sample for testing, absence of testing facilities, compliance. 11, non-conforming tires, disposal and reporting. That brings me to the end of my presentation. So I think we could have some questions, comments, and feedback. Thank you very much.
At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Christopher De Freitas, who will be doing the next standard, which is on pneumatic tires for non-passenger vehicles. And Mr. De Freitas is also a member of the subcommittee for tires, working on the development of the specific requirements. Mr. De Freitas.
Hi, good morning. I'm Christopher De Freitas, I'm also a member of the Standards Committee for Pneumatic Tires and Non-Passenger Tires. And I'll be covering the DNS 42 specification for pneumatic tires for non-passenger vehicles. These elements of the DNS 42, the scope, normative references, terms and definitions, tires designation, tire and rim matching information, requirements, labeling requirements, sampling and testing to determine the conformity, non-conforming tires, the disposal, reporting, and Annex A, which is normative test procedures. The scope. This standard establishes the physical dimensions, performance, and marking requirements for pneumatic tires for use on multi-purpose vehicles, commercial vehicles, trucks, buses, and trailers. Test methods for determining conformity to the performance requirements are also included. This standard does not apply to off-road vehicles. Terms and references: buses, commercial vehicle tire, light truck, model rim assembly, multi-purpose vehicles, non-passenger vehicles, and trailers. Tire designation, content, size and construction, service description, other service characteristics. The requirements: endurance requirements, strength requirements, test requirements, maximum load rating, treadwear indicators. Labeling requirements: designation of dimensional and constructional characteristics, designation of load and speed characteristics, maximum load rating and corresponding inflation pressures, the word tubeless as applicable, the word radial if it's a radial tire, the word regroovable if the tire is designed for regrooving, the DOT marking, which is a government marking that they put on the tire, gives it the year on the tire, identification of the manufacturer either by name or brand name, tires markings, and standards marking. The clauses: sampling and testing to determine conformity, sample size, conformity. non-conforming tires, disposal, and reporting. That ends my presentation on the DNS 42. Thank you. Questions, feedbacks, comments?
Thank you, Mr. De Freitas. I am again not seeing any raised hands. So probably we could just have a little discussion because we still have some time, and persons can start thinking of what questions they would like to ask, if any. Again, if you have questions, use the raise hand feature so you can be acknowledged and allowed to speak. Alternatively, you can type in your questions to the questions and answer participant list that using the chat box. So, gentlemen, one of the things that Saskia would have indicated in her introduction of the changes and updates in the standard was the fact that these standards now have requirements for disposal. What would have spurred the committee to include these types of requirements at this time? Any one of you?
One of the things that came up within our discuss through those meetings is the way that tires get to St. Lucia and the conditions that they get in and how they are packed into the containers, specifically with the used tires. We have heard quite a few and seen online horror stories of, tires being pushed into a container by a front-end loader and no real specifications and standards applied to how those things are put into those containers coming into St. Lucia. Now, this is normally has brought concerns to the point where that we knew that it is now infringing on health issues and whatever diseases that can be carried through those tires being packed with no form of standardization. So we had to put some form of control in place to allow those tires to be vetted first, meaning that, we may have to use fumigation and to make sure that they are safe enough to be handled by anybody, and especially the final consumer of those tires. Thanks.
Thanks for that feedback. Another question is, since the adoption of this standard, one of the issues that we've recognized is the importation of snow tires being used in St. Lucia. With the updates to those standards, will this be addressed? Yes,
actually, it would be addressed, specifically on a health and safety issue, as it applies to snow tires. One of the things we discussed through and we saw through our findings is that we do not have a system in place where we could actually test and find out what created certain accidents on the road. We are not there yet as a country. This is more or less a first world standard where you could actually test whether or not tires failed within an accident, but we are sure that those tires are not capable of handling the temperatures of the asphalt on the roads because they were designed for temperate countries, cold weather, and the compound is completely different from the standard tire that's supposed to be used throughout the use of a car within its life cycle. So we had to make sure for a health and safety point that we address that situation with these winter tires. And I think it is, as I read in the standards, that it is going to be something that would be not allowed anymore into the country once we approve at that point.
Okay, Mr. De Freitas, you presented on the non-passenger pneumatic tires. Previously, the standard had requirements for treading and retreading of non-passenger tires. Will these requirements still be in this updated version of the standard?
Yes, it would be. It has to be taken into consideration because, truck tires, on the whole, have to pass a certain, with the retreading part of it, it has to go through its inspection stages and that type of thing to be retreaded to begin with. Because as you know, my business also does retreading of tires, as you know. And we have certain things that we have to follow to make sure the tire meets its standards for us to retread that tire. Like weather checking, make sure there are no bulges and any separation in the case and that type of thing. But there's only a certain amount of testing we can do with any tire here in Signature Item because we don't have the proper equipment to do proper testing, even with new tires as they come in. So that's the basic thing.
Okay, thank you. I'm still not seeing any hands raised. Not seeing anything coming through the Q&A either. So maybe I can ask either one of you another question regarding the tires used on motorbikes. Now more and more we see a greater use of motorbikes, mopeds, scooters, etc. in St. Lucia. Are these standards covering that? Is that considered a passenger, non-passenger vehicle?
Yes, motorbikes will be, I think we have to come with a separate standard for motorbike tires also. They're not falling under passenger vehicles at all.
Okay, just repeat because I didn't hear.
Okay, no, the motorbike tires will fall under a separate standard altogether because it doesn't fall under passenger vehicles or off the road. The same thing with off the road tires also. I think there's a separate standard for OTR tires also, off the road tires.
Okay, thank you, Mr. De Freitas.
Listening to the experts speak on the tires, it seems to me that because of our climate, our conditions, the snow tire should not be imported into our shops. Right? For one, let me just pull that off. Right? For one, as the person with the glasses, I can't see his name, pointed out, we do not have the expertise to do the experiments to know what this is all about. I had my own experience with those snow tires, which I brought to the attention of the Bureau. That's some years ago. Now, what happened is in America, North America, when winter ends, the people actually remove those tires. They do not use them. And that is why importers, retailers could get them for free, for cheap, and sell it to us. We will not know what caused the vehicle to go down the precipice when 18 people died. We do not know what happens. What my own research have taught me that the snow tires, the traction is less than our normal tires. So somebody's on the road and they apply brakes. Whereas the normal tires, the vehicle come to a halt, let's say like 6 feet or car length. It may be 3 car lengths. So we are actually playing with death, playing with danger. So in interest of life safety, I think we should not allow them to be imported until we have the necessary information. The guy is right. We don't have the research. We don't have the. We cannot have the test, etc. So unless we could let Malaysia and these other places that may have the wherewithal to do it, why are we importing those tires here? Why? That's my question.
Okay, so any of you would like to opine, or both of you can give an opinion on this?
Yes, I will attempt to answer Mr. Sendil. I may have been misunderstood, but you actually agree with me. We actually have included a non-import of those tires within the new standard proposed there. What I think we probably cross paths on is me saying that we do not have the equipment and test equipment, but I had already announced that we because of that, we also we can't risk having those tires in. So we do, and we have put this into this new standard that no snow tires can be imported into St. Lucia. And we are actually going to go as far as when that gets into place, the importing of vehicles, that before the vehicles could clear off, that those tires on that vehicle, the used vehicle, is a zero use of snow tires, or the importation of snow tires are not coming on vehicles, so we'll sneak it under the radar as a use. But you're very right, Mr. Sendel, is we have placed that into the new standard, that there will be zero importation to snow tires in St. Lucia. Thanks.
Okay, I think we lost just a little bit of what you were saying, but essentially you're saying that with these updates in the standard, it will address snow tires directly and have clauses in there that speak to the snow tires and whether or not they are permitted for sale in St. Lucia. All right. Okay. Do we have any other questions? In the Q&A, any other person would like to? All right, so gentlemen, I will give you the last word on the standards before we go to letting persons know how they can submit their comments for consideration. Mr. De Freitas, I would allow you to start since you were the last to go. We're going to reverse the order. So, Mr. De Freitas, any last words on the specification on non-passenger tires, pneumatic tires?
Yeah, okay, I think we've covered everything with the non-passenger tires that I was covering it. And I mean, there's still some time, I guess, for people to write their reviews, and if you have any questions and any concerns that they do not understand concerning the standards, and I guess the sooner they get back to us, the sooner we could get it mandatory, the standards. And I think we are here to help in any way we can. And
thank you, Mr. De Freitas. And Mr. Anderson, you addressed the specification for passenger type, pneumatic tires for passenger type vehicles. Any last words on the standard?
Yes, we actually welcoming that if the consumers, the end consumers, and all the respective stakeholders do go through this extensive standard. I mean, a lot of what we employed, it was a lot of not reinventing the wheel. We went through a lot of international standards to apply and basically curtail it to our standards and within our country. I mean, a lot of those things are founded on the health and safety for the end consumer, and we hope that people do take time to read and push the comments and see if we could refine it even better. And I hope that this can be done. So we are waiting for all the critics that can come to us and assist us in finalizing this document. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson. I'll just show a brief video that demonstrates how you can submit your comments. Now that we have our online platform, traditional comments are still accepted, but we want to take the opportunity to share how you can submit your comments online for the consideration of the technical committee.
Welcome to a brief tutorial on how to use the comments platform for our draft national standards that are out for comments. We start by opening a browser window, could be Torch, Chrome, whichever one is your favorite, and going to the URL www.slbs.org. Alternatively, if you got our emails, you should be able to either click on one of the links to access the portal, or you could also scan the QR code that is provided. It will also take you to the portal. Once you are on our homepage, scroll down to Standards for Public Comment. Click on that. This will take you to the Standards for Public Comment page. Here there is a list of the standards that are out for public comments. You click on one of the standards, the one that interests you, that you would like to comment on. If you've never used our portal before, you will need to register. For those who have used our portals, they could simply log in. However, if you've never used it before, you should register. The registration process is quick and easy. You put in your username, your first name, last name, your email address, and you choose a password. The password should have at least 6 characters and a number. Next, you choose your stakeholder category, whether you are industry, government, or consumer, labor, trade associations, non-governmental agency, regulatory authority, academia and research, or other. I will choose consumer. Now, if you are a member of a technical committee with the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards, you can select the committee you are a part of. If not, you could just select no. For this question, are you a member in SLBS TC? Then you select I'm not a robot, and you can go ahead and register. Now you are in the draft standard that you selected. Here you would see a button which says read draft document, and 2 text boxes, comment, and in the bracket justification for change, and below it the proposed text of change. Below you would have your clause number, your subclause number, or your annex, depending on what you're commenting on, your paragraph, your figure, your table, and the type of comment you are making, whether it is general comment. If it is a technical comment, then you select technical comment, or if it's editorial, then you'd select editorial. So to start perusing and commenting on the standard, you first click read draft document. This opens up the standard in a sub window. Now, for ease of use, you are able to read the standard and type your thoughts down. To achieve this, you click on the top of the window, the standard window. At this point, you drag this to the side of the screen and it should snap. Then you take the browser window, drag that to the other side of the screen, and it snaps. This way you are able to read the standard and still have access to the comment window where you would be writing your thoughts down. So now your first comment could be this. And your proposed text of change. Then you choose your clause number. Let's use number 4, harvesting. Then you choose your paragraph. Let's just say the second paragraph. And then the type of comment. So we will say an editorial comment. And then you add your comments. Now your comments will be recorded. You can see it here. And now you can continue perusing the document and adding additional comments. Once you are done, you can log off, or you could just close your browser window. To log off, you can just log out here, or just close your browser window. And that is how you use our comments platform to peruse and comment on our draft national standards. We are looking forward to hearing from you. If this video was helpful, or you have recommendations or suggestions, or you just have any other inquiries, feel free to drop us a line at info@slbs.org.
So we've come to the end of our consultation. We hope that you can access the standard and comment. With that, I want to thank our participants who attended. Thanks, Mr. St. Hild, for your engagement and comment and feedback. And to the other participants who did not have an opportunity to comment, please go through to the website and submit your comments. Also, if you're unable, you can just call us at Bureau. We will be more than willing to take in your comment. Particularly for the industry, there's a lot of updates to these standards, and it will be important to you that you review, peruse, and submit your comments and feedback, as it would have a direct impact on you. So the SBS team, thanks again, guys, for your support and continued hard work in ensuring that we get the views and feedback of the general public through our inquiry stage. Thank you, everybody.